probably not going to follow the directions that and she would expect that. Was that there's just really a huge disconnect between the community of Christ and the rest of the world. Because at this, Anita said it's 72 hours around. Essentially, it's a Bible camp, or it's a camp on a lake, and so it's pretty isolated. And you leave all electronics behind. I mean, there's no TV, there's no radio, there's no cell phone.
That means I can't go.
There's what?
That means I can't go.
Oh, this is critical. I mean, to this whole process.
No watches.
No watches. I mean, so you don't have a sense of time. There are people there who, you get that much time or this much time, it all works out. But the thing is, it's a time where you get to practice what Wesley would think, I think, is his works of grace or his piety. I mean, you get to you study, you think, you interact. There's there's 15 lesson speakers that come in and talk about various aspects of God and His grace and prevenient grace and justifying grace and sanctifying grace, and it's really a pretty good thing, and so you get to spend some time reflecting, and you get to spend some time praying and reading, and you get to spend some time singing, and there's communion. So if you think about that in terms of what Wesley listed out, in terms of the ways that we avail ourselves of God's grace and in terms of growing, I mean, that's what you're doing. And you don't have to worry about, because you've left all of your electronics behind and you've got none of these commitments, so you don't have to worry about that. The food's all taken care of and you've got a nice place to stay. So you can really, focus on that and spend your time doing those sorts of activities. And it's really, it's very relaxing, enjoyable. And the thing I noticed, Monday morning, I mean, it goes from Friday till Sunday night. Monday morning, you're back in this world, or in reality, or maybe it's however you want to look at it. And it's a terrible shock. I mean, it truly is. I mean, and there's and that enforces for me, in terms of how I look at it, in terms of how far this world is really from anything that resembles God, or the nature of God, or God's love. But even though we are Christians and we're in a Christian community here, and this whole country is supposed to be Christian, it's just it is just a long way from anything that would resemble a reasonable Christian community. And it is just it's really a struggle. After a while you get kind of used to it, numb to it again, and you get back into the same sort of thing. I mean, in terms of, the TV and the radio and the way people treat everybody else and the impatience and all of the other things that you see out there. When you interact with people at work and just people that you run into in the store and however you want to look at it. But it is really, I think, and that's probably what I appreciated most out of the weekend was just really it was very plain in terms of the difference, in terms of, how this world, this world is not of God, and this world is not God's world. I mean, this world belongs to somebody else, and there are a lot of other forces out here in this world that have nothing at all to do with God. I mean, and because that was the contrast between the weekend and the rest of the world made that plain as far as I was concerned. Where you're dealing with prayer, you're dealing with music, you're dealing with teaching, talking about, you're dealing with fellowship, community, which was good.
Well, I have to agree with Don. Who are you?
struggles with that on the Emmaus walk. Anyone says it right, even on the last day. But I have to agree with Don, because as you're ready to leave on Sunday night, they tell you that you have changed and the world has not changed. And it's so true, because you're safe for that whole 72 hours, and everything that you need to do is taken care of, and you're to focus basically on your relationship with God. And you have all that time and the resources to do that, so that when you come home, then you're supposed to be in the world again, and it's really hard. And it would be really nice if we could all live like we do on an Emmaus walk, and I think the world would be a whole different place. So, but since we can't live like that, because we're not all in the same place at the same time, to take this 72 hours for yourself and learn as much as you can and experience as much as you can it's overwhelming. And it really gives you time and space to do all of those things that I wish we had time to do every day. And one thing that, because there's no TV and cell phones and all those things, you still, and you're learning the whole time about, well, one thing that I learned, I'll just share something that I learned, was that, fasting doesn't just have to be about giving up food and not eating. You can give up other things and fast, and I have been trying personally to give up television at night, because I leave the TV on all the time, because it's like this comfort noise, and silence is much nicer, and more, it's just more healing for me. And so that's something, just one little thing that I do every day to take with me and try to make that silence last far into the day as much as possible, as opposed to all the noise of the world. And just the whole sense of community is it's just overwhelming and welcoming. And so I would highly recommend taking that time for yourself.
Well, when everyone here started going to the Emmaus walk, they talked a lot about, oh, I'm sorry, I can hear them back there going, and I'm thinking, clear your throat already. Okay, I'm Jody. Fox Valley Walk to Emmaus number 8, where I sat at the table of Mary. Okay, I'll start again. And I do promise, Pastor Anita, I won't talk about the old cat in the toilet. Okay? For that, you have to come to a Saturday night service. So anyway, I had resisted. When everyone here started going to the Emmaus walk, they would come back and talk about their, very deep, life-changing experiences. And the first few years, I had been asked if I would like to go, and I had said no. I've had a lot of opportunity to go to different things with the youth group, with family and friends, and just things in my life. I didn't expect that I was going to have a life-changing experience, not in the same way as many other people had. And I decided to go this year, 1, out of curiosity, and 2, because I felt it was time for me to go. Those were really the only reasons. And I remember, there are no watches, there are no TV like they said, but I still woke up at 5 o'clock every morning. And I know that because the birds start singing at 5:45 at that time, while we were there. And so I'd be up for a good half hour, 45 minutes before the birds would wake up. And everyone else was still asleep, so I got a lot of quiet time in the morning. And we would go throughout the day, and I've always been comfortable with just kind of going with the flow of things. Pastor Anita refers to it as flying by the seat of my pants, but I'm okay with that. And I sat at the table of Mary, so it was a good place for me. But the most important thing I found while I was there